I am believing on my platform that that particular audio was from her.
She's a boy.
Even though she has denied.
Yes, bro. She is a boy.
Nigeria is not ready for change.
Now, I believe if there is some wisdom in the presidency, they could take advantage of this situation, as it is very expository about the government looking at EFCC and the Correctional Center, as it involves the person of Bobrisky, VDM, and we are talking about Femi Falana, the Falana.
It's Femi Falana in Gabriel.
Today's video is going to be quite interesting. If the presidency want to act wisely, they'll look at this as an avenue to maybe have a goodwill in the mind of the people, if you understand what I mean. Today we have a long discussion as well, as we look at developing stories of this whole conversation as it involves VDM.
I am very, very disappointed in the agencies that are involved in this, and I believe that this call recording that I'm about to play, even Bobrisky will not expect it. That is what is crazy. But all the people that will be mentioned, I don't care. You understand? I don't care. And from today, no longer respect for all of you.
Now, who would have thought that the prison, or which I would call the Correctional Center, actually does have prisons of prisons?
Because the prison itself is another kingdom. They have their own setup. So we have single cells. Inmates that are of that nature. That's not the first person. We have Afro from Benin in those days. That is an homosexual. He was kept in the single cell. The single cell is not general cell. It's a separate prison. Within the prison, Baba Obasanjo was not kept with general prisoners. Most of the governors, what are we trying to dodge out of this? Prison is not a cult center now. Why can't we open up all the whole thing there?
Now, this particular video you see on your screen has indeed been grossly misinterpreted, according to the things I've seen on Instablog, Gossip Mill, and whatever blogs exist out there, insinuating that Bobrisky was put in a confinement different from every other person, considering his biological feature to prevent him from being torn or tearing.
Now they now say, okay, how do we do it? They now say, okay, let us give him a special place. It is like that in the prison. They call it for protective custody, because they will tear him to pieces because of his body look.
Ah, Bishop, what are they tearing? Anyway, we have a lot of things as well to discuss. That particular video is not actually the context, because what he was explaining is what normally happens in the prison system, where they have some form of segregation. But in reality, if we look at his own conversation at the Arise News, looking at what is actually being alleged on ground, Bobrisky himself was being lodged, or would I say put somewhere outside, allegedly in an apartment different from the prison. But like we noted in our first video, which I pointed out to you, he was being sentenced to the prison in Ikoyi. How come that he was now moved to Kirikiri? Now note this as well. Williams, James Brown, Duchess of Africa, all of them, they have their name. They went to go and visit him in Kirikiri. Even in the picture, Bobrisky is not in that picture. So the point I'm trying to also point here to you all is that probably the reason why he had to be moved to quote and unquote Kirikiri, which we didn't know until the time he was being released, would be that the apartment where he was staying, which is a fact as we have established right here based on what video evidence she has sent to a radio guard or radio whatever, the one that faces the wall to talk, showing that even that apartment you see there, that place you see in this video right now, cannot even be inside a prison. And it doesn't look like standard, or would I say quality of place she would be in, considering her person and what she normally posts on her Instagram. So it clearly as well, wherever she was in that video would be pointing to the fact that she was somewhere outside the prison, but probably close to Kirikiri. So we are supposed to establish that fact here. But just to also correct the impression that is being flown around, what Bishop was saying was what he thought in the 80s. And also what is probably happening now, where there is that kind of segregation when it comes to when people are admitted. Like someone who is actually the PRO himself, former, was saying in this video.
So are you people now running Airbnb as part of an extension of the prison?
To answer your question straight, there is nothing like
apartment, separate apartment, private apartment, or anything special in the prison. I'm a little careful not to be preemptive of what the investigation panel will come up with. Like the Reverend gentleman said, you came in bodily showing you are a woman. Yes, you confessed in the court that you are a man. Everybody knows that you keep people, men, behind bars for years. Some of them are unrepentant homosexuals. Some of them, even those that are not homosexuals, they just want to relieve themselves by any means, and you are coming into their midst in that body formation. There is no doubt that if care is not taken, you have a very serious security situation in your on your hands. So I don't want to proceed more on that because it's still being investigated.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I want to enlighten you.
Bishop, if you spent 10 years, you probably left in the 80s, the prisons were still good.
I left in 1982.
You left in 82. Nigeria was still good there. Today, it's yam pepper scatter.
I never removed my hand because of my experience in the prison. I started an organization. I visit prison on daily basis.
Okay, Bishop,
and that is why I'm giving you this.
Bishop, thank you for this.
Yes.
But you might not have an understanding of what's going on in the prison. I will come back to him. So, the question I asked, please, I just need a direct answer.
Yes.
Are some celebrities more important than some? Shehu Kuti went through the full round of the cell system, but Bobrisky cannot go through that system. I'm just asking, are some more special than the others?
No, there is no special treatment. The only thing, let me clarify an issue here. You know, like I said, imprisonment does not mean that anybody that is coming in, you just push the person through the rough terrain to whatever happens to the person, you are not bothered. What we do as part of the classification procedure, we classify you based on your criminal record, the type of crime you committed, how often you commit crime, the possibility of your infesting the custodial environment with your criminal behavior. Based on this understanding, we classify you and then begin your treatment. So if you are saying, for instance, if we have a bank executive or an ex-governor brought into custody, you don't expect that you will lump this individual with a gang of armed robbers, kidnappers, and other cultists. What you find at the end of the day will be a security situation that you never expected. So we do classification based on the criminal record.
And does it make sense? I don't know why what was being circulated around was what the bishop himself said. I don't know if that is intentional by the bloggers, because when it got to the point where he was told the exact fact of the situation, it was like, oh, it's impossible for someone to be lodged outside. And that is also showing that he doesn't really understand what is being talked about right here. So, be prepared before you go on that platform to be talking, Sir Bishop, with all due respect. Anyway, let's come back as well to some things I've observed in this conversation. Who they watch Netflix for this time? Who they watch Big Brother? Hey God. People waiting for Big Brother go to say, Omo, I don't famous. So you come outside, nobody is even... you will check out the blog, nobody even know you exist. Yeah. The way the economy has been able to treat us these days, every day is just season 1, season 2. But all the same as well, one thing I always tell my audience is that with all of these things happening, it's supposed to be a learning avenue for us. Like right now, I never knew that the prisons had some form of segregation. So now they can say that if a governor or if someone that is of high repute is there in the prison, there's actually a way of them being segregated. But I like what Rufai was asking the former PRO. How come Shehu Kuti went to the prison and followed the same rigor like every other person? So probably as well, the prisons would have to really have a way that they segregate who should be here and who should not be here. Because like they were actually saying themselves, like, the governors who have been there, or even Obasanjo, like Bishop was saying, he was not like in a prison like every other person. Even in the prison, there is segregation. My dear, in this life, either you have money or have people. These two things is helping a lot from this whole conversation. So you are learning now. Get money or get people. Like Bobrisky will say, I get Godfather. Now, if you watch my previous video, I made some insinuations that, to a great extent, I think Bobrisky may have been lying in those things she was saying in the audio. I am believing on my platform that that particular audio was from her, even though she has denied.
Yes, bro. She is a boy.
Just imagine her denying that the audio recording must have been doctored and all of that. Anybody can just, do anything just to frame her up. But of course, Fowl's confirmation is that they actually did have a conversation. So how can an audio be framed? Think about this. How can an audio be framed if you are saying so, Bobrisky? How can an audio be framed about you only for that particular audio to be pointing to the fact that even those who were mentioned in that audio, you actually had a conversation with them with respect to your situation about what it is you were being convicted for? Does it make sense? So whoever is framing that audio, if we are saying it was framed, let's assume it was framed or doctored or whatever, knows that you spoke to the person of Fowls. Like, how does that even make sense? But anyway, of course, I'm just putting that in the trash. But let's look at some other things as well I observed. EFCC saying they are inviting VDM and Bobrisky is something I found very funny. Bobrisky himself has come out and said that if it's for him to go back to those same people that investigated him, no, whatever should happen in court. He's not ready to, he's scared for himself going back to that same EFCC that investigated him. He was very specific on the ones he doesn't want to go back to, the same people that investigated him. And VDM have said, invite me for what, Makawai? Are you getting the point now? But this is where it becomes more interesting. Why should EFCC be investigating themselves?
Nigeria is not ready for change. Okay, Very Dark Man gave an expose, released some stuff. Even if he is not able to prove those things in court and legally he loses the battle, but he would have raised some moral questions. And morally, some of us morally will give him the victory. If indeed there are some, because see, when cases come up like this, you and I are free agents. You and I have intelligence. You and I have our own instincts to know whether something is true or not. We might not be able to prove it by reason of the instruments of the law. In that regard, that's one aspect. Now, what he has done, how many Nigerians will say they are surprised at the things that he revealed in those? Because I listened to the audio.
I mean, it's pretty much surprising when you hear that in the prison, for instance, there is a VIP.
Is this surprising to you?
Well, maybe not to me, but to quite a number of Nigerians.
My dear brother, Nigerians know these things happen. You see, sometimes we all keep quiet. But now...
But does that make it normal?
No, get what I'm saying? Now it's been exposed. Everybody have been, everybody have been doing like a voyeur, just peeping, this thing, this. But now somebody has brought it to the fore. It's time for us to now say, okay, let's investigate this, let's open it up, and let's make some corrections. I used to I've had stories of some people paying even monthly for where they stay in the correctional facilities. Stories, like I said,
they pay monthly like rent.
Like rent to stay there. I've had stories, how true, I don't know. But you see, this is an opportunity for us now to go deep. And I like what the Interior Minister has done immediately, has swung into action to say, let's probe this. Just like the EFCC case too, 15 million to drop the money laundering charges. Hey, for crying out loud, I don't expect the EFCC to invite Very Dark Man. An independent panel, an independent investigative team should be set up by the government to check to question Very Dark Man and the EFCC, the ones indicted, and EFCC as a whole, because they need to come clean. If you must be the champion of anti-corruption, like you said, your hands must be clean. You must come with equity. So it is time, it's an opportunity for the government to open up these things. Then let's come clean. This is a new dispensation. Tinubu's government is a new government. Take advantage of this now. I'm pleading, President Tinubu, take advantage of this and let's start the cleansing. Things have gone bad, I must tell you.
All right.
If you look at what the Minister of Interior has done, suspending those who are in charge of the prison, and also putting someone, of course, here a permanent, and also putting someone out of their own mix to be the one to investigate the situation, it makes sense. So why would EFCC themselves be wanting to investigate allegations against them? Probably there should also be an independent body to look at that particular allegation leveled against them, not by VDM, but by Bobrisky himself, who was doing cho. I don't know if you're getting the point now, but I was now wondering to myself again, Bobrisky, you paid them 15 million allegedly for them to drop the allegation on money laundering. Those people should be your friends now. You know them, now your people. Why are you now afraid of the same people that you were able to do business with, allegedly to actually get yourself out of the whole money laundering allegation? Think about it. Was that 15 million really true, or was it actually false? Do you know why I'm saying this as well? Because if he was being quoted to actually have a money laundering allegation, which is a fact, and then all of a sudden that particular allegation is not part of what he's being charged on, then it begins to make sense that that actually might be a fact of what happened. So if you are looking at if there was a lie told, that actually becomes something plausible, because we could see evidently that he was being charged for money laundering allegations, but that was being dropped with something else. Now, I heard someone, of course, on News Central saying that, talking about plea bargain. Listen to this.
All of these things have always been with us, talking about the so-called allegation. And to come from the angle of a lawyer, I will tell you simply that I know that when you are entering a plea bargain, naturally, when you are entering a plea bargain, your count charges or whatever it is are amended. So you don't need, that is what happens naturally when you are entering a plea bargain. Let's assume you have like 9, 10 count charges. And the moment you enter a plea bargain, the first thing to do is to amend such charges.
So the expectation normally, you know, when you get into a plea bargain is either because you have decided to cooperate with authorities, or you've decided, that you need to do whatever you need to do to reduce your sentence. But his sentence wasn't reduced. He was still given a 6-month,
the issue of sentence is largely on discretion of the court. So that is not what we want to even go into for the purpose of this discussion. You see, everybody, even lawyers, we were all surprised, we were all amazed, like the sentence.
While I don't agree with what he said, concurring to what the reporter himself was saying on the aspect of plea bargain, if you are doing a plea bargain, when it comes to plea bargain, from my understanding and from movies where I don't watch, they be like, say, I be lawyer, it always has to do with your sentencing, not really about the charges as well that you're already being, held accountable for. So if he had a plea bargain with the EFCC, that was not even made public, of course, but it could, having a plea bargain lead to him being discharged? Would having a plea bargain lead for them dropping the charge for money laundering and then taking him up for, who is EFCC the one judging? Because even though he's being charged for money laundering, EFCC would also have to prove that, of course, in court for him to be properly, sentenced, or would I say justice brought as well with respect to that. So plea bargain as well plea bargain, in my opinion, may not actually be the situation of the EFCC to handle. You understand? But if they are looking at it as plea bargain, you could tell me as well, lawyers who are watching, what you think as well in the comment with respect to that particular opinion as to why the money laundering charge was dropped. But again as well, from the conversations I've seen happening on the internet, clearly, I'm noticing a very interesting pattern. Why is it that it seems as if Bobrisky is so feared that people are not really being emphatic in what they're saying, that we can say that, okay, by instinct and human reasoning, that this is just a fact? Or are we just trying to be blind of a situation and be like, oh, let the court decide, let the court decide? I understand, because there are some things that you just cannot prove in court, but the system of the world, of course, would have to make it go through that particular procedure, which of course we do respect. But when it comes to like someone like, some of them be asked as well to make emphatic statements, is that the Bobrisky's voice? If you look at the circumstances as well leading to this particular voice note as well being brought out, instinct as well, that this is Bobrisky's voice. Even if it's been denied, like the premise I just said right now, how come even the content of that confirms what actually happened behind the scenes, which is now making the Falana people up and down, left, right, and center?